As a child of the 1980s, I absolutely loved my Nintendo. It had some of the greatest games of all times, but little did I know at the time there was an even better system in some ways across the pond in Japan. Hello everybody, my name is Gary. I am your host here on Rock Solid Productions. And today we want to talk about the Famicom, the Sharp Famicom Twin, and how, well, we're going to try to get a little bit more out of each of them. So this is the Nintendo Famicom if you've never seen one before. This is essentially what they got in Japan as the Nintendo Entertainment System. As we know, the toaster, the little gray box, the box that just kept on giving. Now, one thing different about the Famicom and the Sharp Famicom Twin and all of its variants is the fact that the original versions had these hard-wired controllers. Also, the original Famicom, such as this one here, only had an RF output. That's right, there was no AV output whatsoever until they later came on and updated what we call the top loader here in the US. They call the AV Famicom over in Japan. Now with that system you could actually go ahead and use removable controllers, so things like the NES Advantage would work just fine. Now there are mods and whatnot where you can go ahead and install a controller connector and replace these controllers or the controllers on the Sharp Famicom Twin series. But what I wanted to do was be able to use my regular NES controller on my Famicom, Sharp Famicom Twin, and that's actually what's playing behind me here. This is The Legend of Zelda 2 playing behind me on the Sharp Famicom Twin. Now on both of these systems they have an expansion port. On the original Famicom it's here on the front. On my Sharp Famicom Twin it is on the side. This is what you connected things like the Zapper light gun peripheral into. Now doing some research, I've heard that you can actually plug in an NES controller using a DIN style connector into this and it works for most games. It's not foolproof and it doesn't work for everything. But if I could go ahead and be able to use a standard controller or even a wireless controller on my Famicom or my Sharp Famicom Twin, I would definitely play it a lot more. Now, one benefit if you are looking at, either getting a Famicom or a disk system, definitely consider looking at the Famicom Twins. Now, they're more expensive than when I bought mine. I bought mine for under $100 and it came with 20 different discs. I got one heck of a deal 5 years ago on that thing. It's wonderful. And I really have to thank channels like John Riggs and the guys over at Famicom Dojo for helping me kind of figure out, okay, this is the system I want. This is what I want to dive into. If you haven't checked out either of those channels, I'm sure you've checked out both of them. But if you haven't, I will have links down below in the more info section where you can check out both Riggs and Famicom Dojo. So what we're going to do here is we are going to break out the soldering iron and we're going to see if I can actually put together this adapter. Now, they used to be available commercially in the past, so theoretically I should be just reproducing what had previously been made. Let's go fire up the soldering iron. Let's get to work. What we're dealing with is this connector here. I think it's a 15-pin DIN style connection, and in this actual port is also on the Sharp Famicom Twin. Well, I did some research and I found this graphic online which showed how to go ahead and build this. So that's exactly what we're going to try to replicate. So I have my 15-pin connector right here, and I have an old NES, basically from a busted NES, a controller port. What we're going to do is we're going to marry this to this. Now, to get proper connection from everything I'm seeing, I'm going to actually have to go into the systems using this side here. This side is not deep enough to allow me to go ahead and make contact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the wires through this side, I'm going to solder them once through, and then I'm going to pull the crimp style connector back through to lock it into place. I am really hoping this does what I think it's going to do. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to cut these off right here. Please be gentle, please be gentle, please be gentle. Okay, so there's that. Before I go ahead and actually insert everything into the harness, what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip and tin these connectors. Now the connectors are getting stripped, not me, because ain't nobody want to see that. Now realistically I don't need to solder any of this. I can, because it is a crimp style connection, I can just crimp them. Yeah, no, I'm going to go ahead and solder this stuff. Hit it with some flux paste real quick. Come on, you. I'll just do a couple conductors at a time. Those two are done. Dunk the wires so we can get some better connectivity here with the solder flux paste. And it doesn't take much to go ahead and get this tinned. And just a couple more conductors here. Woo woo. Conductor, train joke, get it? Alright, so we're good here. We've got everything tinned. Okay, so brown goes to number 1. There's that. I'm going to pull that as far through as I can right now. So I really had to sit down and kind of figure out what I was looking at, what was going on here, because I was just getting super confused by the pin layout that I was seeing compared to the housing itself. So basically what I did is I went ahead, sat down, and kind of charted where all the wires needed to go. What was really throwing me off was the fact that the diagram that you see here actually shows using a player 1 and player 2 controller. Well, we're only going to have a player 1 controller for this, so that was part of my confusion here. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to get the wires tinned up and ready to solder. Now I am going to use a little bit of solder flux on the solder joints themselves just to make sure we get good adherence. Now while I am soldering these connections, I can crimp them as well, and I will probably do that just to make sure that we get a good fit into the housing, since we are going backwards into what it would normally go into the system. We want to make sure that we don't have any additional resistance going into this housing as possible. Now one thing we may also do is ream out the holes a little bit. I may or may not do this. That's TBD at this point. And here it is, we have our adapter all wired up. Now one thing too is the fact that for just one player, there are 2 wires that you will not use, so keep that in mind. We have this all wired up. I do want to test the fitment real quick on my Famicom, so we're going to bring that in here. It's a good, tight fit. Overall, not too disappointed with this, again, just for a prototype. So we're going to hook this up to our Sharp Famicom Twin, because I actually have that hooked up to my RetroTink 2X Pro, so we can hopefully get some captured footage. Let's see if this actually works. All right, it is the moment of truth here. So I have my homemade adapter. I also have the wireless cadet controller dongle from Hyperkin, and I'm going to use this to test out because it actually has a blinking LED on the back. So if I plug this in, I'm getting power that should start blinking. So let's plug it into the side of our Sharp Famicom Twin. In the Sharp Famicom Twin, the expansion port's on the side right there. Oh! We're getting a blinking light. That's a good sign. And just set this over here. So the controller not currently turned on, otherwise we'd have a blue light right here. We're gonna go ahead, hit the start button. The blue light will start to flash. There you can see. Solid. Start key's working. Please set side 3. I believe that means B. Actually, one of the really cool things about the Famicom Twin and the disk system is the fact that you have like a floppy disk where you have a side A, side B. You do have load times, but the audio that comes out of this thing blows away anything that the NES could do. It has really cool audio on it. World 1-1. Let's see if everything works. Left, right. Oh, this works! This is the frickin' coolest. So what I have set up here is I've got it going through my, there we go, through my RetroTink 2X Pro, and basically what I do for that is I just send the composite signal into the green input on the RGB side of things, and it handles it because that's the composite input if you are running just composite on the RetroTink Pro. Man, this is so cool. Like, I've always loved my Famicom and everything, but I haven't played it as much because of the range issues of the controllers, just because the controller cables have been so short. But now that is no longer an issue. I mean, quite frankly, I can go ahead and I can use my NES Advantage on this if I wanted to. Okay, super, super cool. Now, I know the question is going to be, how much can you get one? This was a one-off side project. I'm hoping that through what I showed you here, you can duplicate my efforts. The housing that I bought for that DIN connector was like 15 bucks. I would have to sell these for 20 to 25, $30, and quite honestly, I don't think that the interest would be there. If you want to buy the parts, send them to me and I can build you one, but honestly, you should be able to follow what I did here. Let me know what you think. Is this something that you would want to do? Are you excited that you can actually use NES controllers on a Famicom? I had done research, I knew it was possible. I will definitely be enjoying my Famicom Twin a heck of a lot more than I have been, and I've been enjoying it. I love this system, one of my favorites that I own in my collection. And again, I gotta thank John Riggs and the guys over at Famicom Dojo for basically putting all the knowledge out in their different videos that they have over the years on the Famicom disk system, and on the Sharp Twin Turbo. So one bummer is that the fact that if I do this, I do lose the turbo on this controller, but again, I have my NES Max and my NES Advantage that'll get me right back there. So if you've got any other comments or questions about what I've shown you here, let me know what you think again down in the comment section. You can also go ahead and email me at rocksolidmail@gmail.com. Send me a message on Twitter at RockSolidStudios. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/RockSolidProductions and Instagram at instagram.com/RockSolidProductionsGK. And let me know too, if you know like where to source these housings cheaper, less expensive to do the same thing, I may look into producing something like this down the road for the masses in the future. Now, if you are looking to pick up like one of these wireless controllers like I have, additional controllers for the NES, game cleaning kits, so on and so forth, do me a favor and head on over to CastleManiaGames.com. My friend Ryan has got a ton of different parts and accessories for your modern and retro gaming systems. And the cool thing is you earn what's called Castle Cash. It's his rewards program where the more you spend, the more you earn towards future purchases. And the wonderful thing is Castle Cash is just like cash. And you can also use promo code ROCKSOLID10 to save 10% off of most items on the website. Again, very cool. I am geeked out. I may try to stream some Famicom or Sharp Famicom Twin soon here on the channel. Now, if you are looking for information on other controllers, other reviews, parts, accessories, mods, and so forth, those videos are coming up right now. Thank you for watching this video. If you would like to support the future of Rock Solid Productions, you can do so by visiting our Patreon page at patreon.com/rocksolid. For as little as $1 a month, $12 a year, you'll get early access to all of our video content, exclusive content, and a whole lot more. You can also become a channel member here on YouTube for as little as $1.99 a month, and with that, you get a badge next to your name when you comment or post on the channel, and you are acknowledged whether you are a channel member or a Patreon supporter at the end of each and every one of our videos. You can also support the channel by visiting our Teespring store on screen now, where we have t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, masks, cell phone cases, and much more. Again, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you soon.